The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew. When Jesus heard of the death of John the Baptist, he withdrew in a boat to a deserted place by himself. The crowds heard of this and followed him on foot from their towns. When he disembarked and saw the vast crowds, his heart was moved with pity for them, and he cured their sick. When it was evening, the disciples approached him and said, "This is a deserted place, and it is already late. Dismiss the crowds so they can go to the villages and buy food for themselves." Jesus said to them, "There's no need for them to go away. Give them some food yourselves." Then they said to him, 5 loaves and 2 fish are all that we have." Then he said, "Bring them here to me." And he ordered the crowds to sit down. Taking the 5 loaves and 2 fish and looking up to heaven, he said the blessing, broke the loaves, gave them to the disciples, who in turn gave them to the crowds. They all ate and were satisfied, and they picked up fragments that were left over, 12 wicker baskets full. Those who ate that day were about 5,000, not counting women and children. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ. I will break the rules. Don't worry, I'll go that close to you. I will stay here, okay? But I will break the rules of being by the AMBO. Years ago, when I was a missionary in the Philippines, I was working in a really poor community. And the first months I was assigned there, we got a really bad flooding, okay? And the whole community got flooded and everything was lost, you know. The people were really poor, and after that storm, they lost everything they had. Of course, we were working with some Catholics who were in the community, and the question came, how are we going to help all these people? You have to consider that our parish was in a territory of 5 square miles with a population of 150,000 people. So it was full of people, okay? And the majority of them were Catholics. And when we started receiving help from the neighboring parishes and from the Xaverians around the world, the people who were working with us were like, "Father, how are we going to distribute the food?" And some of them were, "Well, you know, we have to take care first of our Catholics. And we have to take care of those who come with us to worship with us." So we were discussing the solution with the parish priest and the other priest who was also an assistant priest with me. And we came with a solution. We are going to distribute tickets, okay? And they are going to be distributed at night. And you may say, "It's weird, you know, you can hurt yourself walking in all the debris." And we say, "Yes, it's kind of crazy." But then, in the middle of darkness, because there was no electricity, you didn't know whose house was that. So Catholic or not Catholic, Catholic, Christian, Muslim, Buddhist, whoever, we had the chance to get the help that we were receiving. And we were dividing the parish in sections, so every day was a different section of the parish. Just think of it. The gospel of today is telling us how the disciples are telling Jesus, "Hey, these people are hungry. Tell them to go." Tell them to go and find something. And Jesus tells the disciples, hey, what do you have? What can you share? Just think now about our current situation with this time of pandemic. How many people have lost their jobs? How many people do not have to provide for families? Right? And believe me, sometimes people will tell me, Father, don't you get bored of being home? And I say, not really. Because I was telling Deacon Sandy, I'm a really extrovert guy, okay? You have to make a really big effort to keep me quiet. But through the whole pandemic, I have discovered that I can be at my house, happily sitting, reading, praying, working in the garden, cooking, baking, which I love, okay? So I have discovered I can do so many other things. And this has really gotten me or given me the opportunity to think how much we complain about life. How much we complain about what we cannot do. We cannot go out, right? It's summer. We should go in the evenings with our friends, have dinner, a nice glass of wine, right? And we cannot do it because of the situation. We complain about that. Or we complain that we have to be wearing these things, right? And we say, well, it's my right. Okay. But the issue is, what is the common good of everybody, right? And we start discussing about whatever, the social situation, how we sit down to consider, what can I do to change the situation? What can I do to make it better, not only my family, my community, but the whole situation? When the disciples come and say to Jesus, send them off, Jesus is very quick and tells them, come on, hold on, hold your horses. What are you going to do for them? What are you willing to share with them? And Jesus reminds us today, in the craziness of our country, what are you willing to make of your country a better place? Right? It is not about, okay, let us kick everybody and that's it. Or let us put to jail those who are doing whatever. What are we, as followers of Jesus, doing to make of the situation a better situation? Now move to the first reading. The God that is present to us is telling everybody, even if you have no money, come, sit down. Even if you have nothing, you are going to be fed. When was the last time you cared for a stranger? When was the last time that you did something, even for your own family, without expectations? When was the last time you approached anybody just because you were moved to do what was proper, what was right? Right? And all of us like freebies. Whenever we see free to take, free, even if we don't need it, we go and grab it. Right? The question is, why? You don't need it. Because it's free. I mean, kind of crazy. Now it will be a little bit harder if you want the second reading. What is going to separate us from the love of Christ? illness, war, calamities, hunger. And when I'm talking about hunger, I have heard of many Catholics who say, I miss communion. It's pretty good. And many others will say, I will never complain again about the Mass because now that I don't have it, I realize how difficult it is. But I will throw a challenge to you. How real and present you make Jesus in your family, in your community, after you have fed of him on the altar. Okay? Because if we come here to the altar and we fed of this Jesus only for ourselves, then how selfish we are. We are no different from the disciples who were with Jesus and didn't get it. The God that we worship cares for us spiritually, cares for us. He wants us to be with him in heaven, but he wants us to live with dignity on earth. And the God that we worship invites you and me to do the best we can for those who are around us. To share what we have. To pay attention to the needs of others. Because if we don't do that, then we run the risk to be separated from him. And believe me, it's not a pandemic. It's our inability to be with God. Because as you know, for a while we didn't have masses, right? And people were telling me, Father, why don't you put your mass on Facebook? I say, well, there are many masses already going on. And I say to them, I'm a little young guy, but I'm pretty much a little bit against it. Why? Because we have to sit down with the Lord. It's really different to sit down and participate of the Eucharist, which is a gift already, than to sit down with the Lord and say, what do you want from me? It's really easy to watch the Mass in comparison to sit down and listen to the invitation of God. And I guess that if we don't take advantage of this opportunity, where God is telling us, come, okay? Come, feed from me. Come if you are tired. Come if you are lost. Get freely. If we don't do that, then we will never be able to go and share what we have received from God. The miracle we see today in the gospel, this multiplication of the bread, it's not just because, Jesus prayed and, but he moved the hearts of those who were close to him. He enabled them to be open to the grace of God the Father. In the same way, we are called to do it, to participate of the graces of Jesus, to put whatever we have, but to collaborate with God. So today I really invite you, Are you worried, tired, angry, whatever? Come. Take what you need. Leave on the table what you don't really need or whatever is giving you trouble. Come and take freely. But don't forget, bring it home. Bring it to those who need it. Share it with those who have nothing. Okay? And just a little bit more to make it more practical. To the week. If you can make it real in your own practice of piety, do an act of charity. Make it real, concrete. May the Lord really grant us the desire to be with Him, to consume Him. And when we are overjoyed for His presence, then we may be moved to go and share Him.